All right, we're live now. Okay, so who's doing the intro?
Intro?
Wait,
What's an intro?
what? Whatever. Actually, no, I didn't do my audio check yet. Guys, start speaking. I want to just double check that you guys aren't muted or anything.
Hello.
Okay, wonderful. Wait, one of you guys is super quiet. Well, anyways, while we're doing that, Purple, start saying stuff or introducing the
Hello, everybody down here on the ground. This is the GP Los Angeles Decklist stream. We have here. Let's check our number of competitors. We have
25 competitors.
25 competitors. That's a pretty good output this time of night.
Oh, Wizzerinus, you're super quiet. Did you get a new mic?
Okay, let me reconnect.
Okay, anyways, let's just
Better?
do you want to talk about the balance changes or anything else going into the format, or are we just gonna jump right into the decks?
Let's jump right into the deck lists and see what balance changes affect the decks as they come up.
Wonderful. Okay, so first deck is Admiral Ivy's. I went out for drinks and didn't leave myself enough time to deck build.
I see.
So I think this is kind of similar to what they were running last GP-ish. I think they were running like white-black control-y kind of stuff. And this is definitely a deck that is affected by the Shanjuan's change because it's not running it anymore. Oh, no, it is. Sorry.
It is.
I was looking at
Yeah.
the wrong section. And I think definitely this kind of list doesn't really care about the change that much because they're not using X spells that much. They're not fetching Single, which is, I think, the main kind of downside of the Shanjuan's nerf.
Is it not running Children's anymore?
Doesn't look like it.
Huh.
Maybe it should be running Children's because you can still just. Oh no, it doesn't play your hand at all. Never mind.
Wait, what? Huh? Wait. Wow.
Yeah, it makes sense they're not running Children's.
I didn't realize that it doesn't put it in your hand anymore. I just
But
thought,
actually, talking about the list, it's a Fleeting Moments deck. I think that's the core card here. It's Fleeting Moments as if you can set it up a 2-mana Phyrexian Arena. Then
That's
you have
mighty strong.
They have Labor Ambitions as a nice discard spell plus attrition kind of spell. Descend, Embodied Soul, Dark Bargain, Chronicles, Kitsune, a bunch of 1-drops for Shanjuans, Valdez.
one Absolve in the main deck.
Yeah, I don't know what Absolve hits, but
One
I suppose
Absolve for flavor.
I mean, I guess it's a draw card. Like,
I mean, you can
If it hits-
Sandrine's.
not that bad.
I mean, if it hits anything, it's good, but I don't know if it hits anything. So
You can shoot out with Sandrine's at instant speed, so like maybe just in case your opponent tries to do something funny and you just absolve them and wreck them with that and be hilarious.
It's particularly good against Foretell.
Which is not in the it is in the format, but nobody plays Foretell cards.
You speak too soon.
Well, I'm very sure that actually. Also, Safia's kind of relevant card.
So
And, like,
what we have here is
look how
a
many Safias this season.
white, blue, black control deck with some
There are just
aspirations for more card draw using Fleeting Moments.
Was there any? I can't hear you guys over the other guys speaking.
it was honest, is still a bit quiet.
Well, it's not quite. They're just muffled.
1 second.
Well, yeah, muffled might be a better word. I think maybe the most interesting part of this deck is that
I don't know.
it's playing both Breach the Mind and Sun King's Gambit
I
to
think
feel
like
fleeting moments.
something Gambit kind of look for the bad here, just because they're not doing anything with graveyard. So like,
I think the logic is that you can discard like Invalidate or like
Absolve.
yeah,
Ambitions when they're
okay.
dead.
I could see that.
I don't know how good that is, but it's something you can do, and it's
I
not
think
bad.
one kind of cool part about this deck is Chronicles of the Kitsan. If your opponent is on a creature deck, you can go Shanjin's Command, back, Fox, and block, and then you make Hui, and you basically just win the game for 4 mana, plus 5 mana the next turn. Just kind of nuts in some matchups.
Huh. Yeah, I guess that does work. I mean,
Yeah,
it's sort of
it
like
is-
children. It's sort of children-y in a way.
It's a 6-mana 4/4 legendary flying lifelink.
But you get it if
You
it
get it
dies.
every turn.
It
I
doesn't
see.
die, basically.
I think the main upside is that it's just like really low cost, where like 1 mana 2/1 with upside is just kind of good, especially like 2 to target.
You got to remember the baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the studies in scientific theory is interesting of the sideboard. Not sure if I'm sold on that.
I live in the deck.
So what's the deck even called? Why are you calling the deck?
I mean, I guess it's
Well,
for
it's
this
called I went out for drinks and didn't leave
Yeah, so
myself
why are we
time for
calling the deck?
builds.
Like, so that we
It's
actually
like
know what it does.
Like Esper Attrition or something,
That's for
deck.
attrition.
Extra Sentence Command.
or like Esper Fleeting Moments or something.
I'll just call it
Yeah.
attrition because that's what we called Scribble's Fleeting Moments deck. So yeah, Asti, you're gonna be with
Asti's not
Dude?
here.
Yeah, okay. Well, is Is Dr. Batman also not here? Did they leave?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Wizzerinus, you're also rating the deck now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this deck's like fine. I was actually pretty impressed by Admiral Ivy's list last GP, and this is like somewhat based on it. I think this is a bit worse than the deck they're playing last GP, probably because the Shandunes changed, but I think this is still easily strong.
Okay, I'll give it 3 chili peppers, I guess. I'm not super excited to see it.
Considering the fact I'm a slightly charismatic player masquerading as a judge, I think this deck is scary.
Okay, so what'd you give it?
Put a little skull emoji.
Sure, you go look at the emoji. I'm streaming right now.
I'm gonna give it a 3 because it's
Okay.
kind of a cool deck, but control deck's just not cool enough to get more than 3.
Alright, moving on. A little blanks, mill for life. It's not a mill deck, it's a graveyard deck.
Honestly, I've never seen Reclusive Augur before, but it does look like it's a pretty powerful card.
What was that guy do?
So they posted this in deck building, and I had some like questions because I saw 17 lands is kind of rough when you want to play like
Schengen Heartland. I've never seen that card before.
What card?
Schengen Heartland.
Schengen Heartland. It offers a global green and blue color fixing as long as you mill it.
Oh, it's like that card from Judgment, but for green and blue. Well, anyways, moving on. What were you gonna say, Purple?
Yeah, so 17 lands is kind of rough because a lot of the reanimation is really expensive, with Xiangxi Arts being like 5 mana total for the reanimation, Arlo being 4, whereas like the standard rate of reanimation in the format is like 3.
If they expected to mill their lands to the graveyard and get to consistently play them, you'd expect more Promethean Grottos.
Yeah, but at the same time, Grotto doesn't produce colored mana, which is kind of rough when you have like Bitter Duckling and like even Reclusive Augur, like getting double black isn't necessarily 3 with like colorless lands, because like Heartland doesn't produce colored mana either if you have it in play. There's a lot going on with this deck. Like there's Eluid Scorn to like Exile doing upkeep to use on Reclusive Augur, and then you have like a mid-range package with like Anistu and Duckling and Ruined Delver, which also exists, but I don't know if it's good.
They also have Nightmare Raiders and the Doomborn Host, which I've never seen before, and the Lord of All Beyond, which I've also never seen before.
Yeah, and they're also like basically splashing for Breach the Lilies, which is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can cast Nightmare Raiders, but
Elud's card also seems kind of weird because they can't really use that mana well. Although, I guess if you go like Arts in turn 1 and mill Augur, Corn, and something, you get a turn 2 Augur. No, turn 3 Augur.
like I think this deck has the problem of like if you draw your opening 7, you have to get like pretty lucky to like not have a bunch of dead cards.
In a reanimator deck, I admire having some non-legendary creatures to reanimate so that you can get a few of those out. The Lord of All Beyond is really nice to try and push your advantage by cheating out more huge stuff, but all the huge stuff, as far as I can see, is legendary.
Yeah.
As much as you can get IC is, I think, cheating out a Doomborn Host, but that might be overkill.
Admittedly, like Doomborn Host is a pretty good win con. I know the Forbidding Xianqi Arts like doesn't really let you attack with the creature because it dies if it deals damage. But as far as like 1-card win conditions go, the Doomborn Host is like really good, I think, if you have like any kind of mill to back it up.
I guess.
They're all mill. They probably have at least some.
Yeah. Okay.
The bigger issue might be if their library is smaller than the opponent's life total.
Anyways, I'm giving this deck 2 chili peppers because I don't think it comes together. Like it's trying to be spicy, but it fails at being spicy because it's just too spicy.
Like I think if you like draw an opening hand with this deck, you like immediately I feel like if you draw an opening 7 with this deck, it's gonna like look very bad. Like it seems like very few like opening 7s are like good because you just have so many dead cards. So I don't really like this deck very much because like you have a lot of non-games losing to yourself.
I don't really want to see how the deck plays because it looks like pretty damn spicy, but again, it's a little blank, so they do make a lot of decks that look like this and just don't work.
It's always my instinct to root for the wild, far in the distance win cons like this.
All right.
And I'm looking into their sideboard and seeing the Gloomtide Welk, liking it more and more.
Why is Azus inside?
But I'm not sure it's great.
The best reanimation target in general.
Yeah, I'd be pretty on board with Azos over Lord of All Beyond.
Thievery, also a pretty interesting choice.
I'm going to give it a sand hourglass emoji.
So moving on, we have Asti on 5s again.
Anything new?
Mentioned Messenger of the Heavens as the new innovation.
It looks the same as it was last time.
Yeah, there are 3 Griffin countries now. I remember there were around 4 before.
I got like really wrecked by Crystal Catcher last season because it's really good against Rattler, but then it won anyway because Rattler is really good against Fun Ones. I don't have anything to say about this deck.
Well,
This
now
is
Ryder's
back-
less good
back
against
to
Fun
Rattler.
Ones.
As
Yeah,
far as I
that's
can
true.
tell, it appears this deck's pretty linear. You get a lot of small flyers. You make the small flyers larger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a pretty staple kind of archetype. It shows up a lot, particularly because Ashley plays it a lot.
Anyways, I'm giving it one chili
it does-
pepper because, yeah, I've seen it way too much.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
They don't like Cosmic Spinkle being the sideboard instead of main deck, but
Hey, at least
Still,
they're
yeah,
running
that's
4
cool.
Caution
That's
Fogs
part of
now.
it.
Going to give it a bird.
Thank you very much, dude. It's it's not mono blue. It's like
It's after
Blue.
because of Jared Hoff.
blue flyers. Close enough. Moving on. How do you pronounce this name?
CD Newland.
Yes.
Anyone.
Unplayable garbage featuring Nerf guns. It's this deck. So a purple.
It's a reinvent combo, right? Oh, it has a Rift Crown deck.
No, it's Rainy Day Trailblazer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
also a really cool addition.
So you played against this deck in League before, right? Purple.
It was like a 5. Wait, it is not a very long match because it was like a 4-turn game 1. It's like I just had a good matchup. Then game 2, I killed the Zealot on turn 1, and they had no second land because they won
what?
11 lands. So
Wait, what? You killed Zealot on turn 1?
okay,
Mill.
so Zealot has this weird property with Archive in that
If you mill it, it goes away.
yeah. So if you have a mill 3 and the opponent has a Zealot, you can just kill the Zealot. Fortunately, this is a bit not as impactful because they do have rail lines, so they can play Zealot and immediately bounce it. They didn't do that game, so yeah, they didn't find a second land.
It's a shame. There are 7 rail lines in the main deck.
Yeah,
All right. What about otherwise? How does this deck play?
I don't know.
Well, it kind of
I presume it's
because
just
it
normal
just wins a lot.
artifact stuff, all in artifacts.
What is Rainy Day
Nonsense.
Trailblazer? Like, I think you've talked
Uh,
about this card before.
Oh well,
kind of like generally fucked
here
off in this deck.
Trailblazer goes infinite with Sage's Ashes.
As far as I can tell, a big plan in this deck is to get out a ton of artifacts and slam a big reinvent to pull out Ethereum Leviathan.
Yeah, so that's a basic plan because Leviathan with a cost reducer goes infinite, kind of. And if you have a Gilded Cipher, you can mill at your opponent while doing that. Because Cipher costs 0, you play a Cipher, tap it in response to the Leviathan trigger bounces the Cipher, so you mill at your opponent that way.
I see
Interesting.
everyone's saying this deck is stupid good.
It has some good win conditions.
And then Trailblazer with a Sage's Ashes and a cost reducer goes infinite as well. Because you can play Sage's Ashes for free
Right.
off the
What?
Sculptor Outfitter.
What's the win count here? Do you just
Reinvent
Maybe a
into
Thunder opponent's
Ethereum
board?
Leviathan.
No, I mean
So-
the win
I
count.
think it's just Leviathan plus Gilded Cipher.
Once you bounce everything the opponent has to their hand, they're helpless to just get smashed.
No, you just mill them out with Gilded Cipher.
You could also just smash them.
True. I think that's more so the sideboard plan with Observer Aeons being a good
Yeah.
backup plan.
Yeah,
Like this deck is pretty fragile because they don't actually have no way to answer any permanents. That's not literally Leviathan.
Yeah, there's no lick of backup from plan removal in here.
So
Uh,
if someone does
There's
have hard
definitely
hate for them,
deck.
they do kind of lose.
Yeah.
It's really a matchup dependent deck here.
Anyways, I'm gonna give it 5 chili peppers because, geez, someone using Rainy Day Trailblazer. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Rainy
Rainy
Day Trailblazer.
a
combo
really good
deck.
card.
Anyways, let's move on to Crush Castle's Trainless Train.
Again, okay. We should use
Ooh,
the Courageous.
Sage's Ashes.
Of course, they run 2 trains.
It's only 6 trains. It's 1 less than the other deck,
Oh, 6 trains.
but they're
Yeah.
running Glistening Chalice
Okay, so
and
how
Claw's
does this
Counterfeit.
first question? How does this deck win? Is it just Strike Break and
Zal, I guess.
Val doing stuff?
Zal's a really weird choice because they don't really care about untaps. It's just a bad pinker.
It's only creatures? Oh, huh. Did Crush Castles think this thing untapped non-land permanents?
And it's also legendary. So it's kind of just a really weird choice in this deck.
What does Yushion do?
So
So
if you
like
young is
artifact draw is main thing, but like, I think most of them already do that. Just marked coin? What does marked coin do?
Top deck
It's
manipulation.
so bad.
so I feel like they just missed that Azal doesn't untap anything because like if it's all untapped anything, then Sage's Ashes goes infinite, or 2 of them do. I guess you do have Chalice. So if you have Chalice in play, then you have 2 Sage's Ashes, then you go infinite, which is I guess the basic plan. And then Ushi Yon is a good value engine if you can somehow manage to get Golden Age online, which is maybe a bit ambitious. They do have like devised companions.
I see so many.
Anyone
They
in chat
usually have a
doing
lot of spells, so I don't think they can ever get Renaissance because they kept to cast a spell, and you
Oh,
probably already cast companions to attack or something.
It
Then
feels like it's missing a win condition based around top deck manipulation because I see so many cards that I see.
yeah, the
two
win count
cards.
definitely not great here. Like Strikebreaker is fine, but Stormbringer is just useless.
I mean, usually Ewing plus Strikebreaker is definitely like very synergistic. I can definitely see that like combination taking over games just because the Strikebreaker tokens are artifacts. That gives you a lot of draw. But yeah, getting Golden Age seems tough. It feels like this deck's missing like a couple cards to make it like actively good.
Yeah.
But it feels kind of like something's missing at the very least.
Also, the sideboard has Control Discourse, which I've never seen before.
We have
Does it
clues.
have
And
any other clues? I don't think it does.
They have Crack Open the Cache. That makes a
Weeping
clue.
Shaft?
Yeah, and that Weeping Shaft makes clues.
I mean, I guess Control Discourse is like okay-ish if your opponent doesn't play around it.
Yeah.
I think we're spending too much time on this deck. I'm just gonna give it one chili pepper because I can't figure out what it's doing and move on. So Tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think that's coming to the win.
Are we naming it? What are we naming the deck? Trainless Train, right?
Train mark like 7 or something. There's been a good amount of Trainless Train decks.
Anyways, moving on. Cyber Chronometers, Purplemurasaki, Juyu Jeskai. Oh, it's this deck.
So this is
Control.
a deck I played in League. Main
A lot of
synergy.
one-off lands.
Yeah, so this is a Hotter Zudina deck, though. Doesn't need Hotter Zudina at all. But the main kind of core of this style deck is Seek Prophecy, Juyu Offering Pool, and Weeping Lotus as kind of the core engine of card draw and filtering and mana acceleration kind of stuff. Because Juyu Offering Pool finds you, it's just a really good filtering card. And then
Julius is like a big impulse, right? Julius is like just a big impulse.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
I mean, it hits lands too, so it is very much just impulse in this deck.
Yeah.
And then additionally, Weeping Lotus can get you up to Eye of Shojiro to make Krakens, which is nice. Weeping Lotus also helps you cast your extra Seek Prophecies. And then from there, you just have like interactive spells, Void Flare, Sinkhole, Horizon, Fracture, and then some big win condition planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Ajani also makes more mana. And yeah.
What's the Sign Dreams and the commands in the sideboard for?
That's because they net decked me and didn't update anything.
Okay, but what was it for?
Back when Shine Dreams was 3 mana, it fetches a lot of the more interesting sideboard cards. So Abscond, Middlemarch, Children of Clouds, Filter Away. It's additionally like life gain, it stops aggro, really efficient graveyard hate. At least it was on 3 mana, 4 mana it's a bit sketchier. But just like did everything and made your sideboard like really compact.
Okay.
On 4 mana it's not that good in this deck, though it's still like fine. But it doesn't fetch Abscond or Children of Clouds or Sinkhole very well, so definitely worse.
Okay. What's the deck called?
Juyu
Pools?
Juyu Jeskai.
Yeah, Jeskai Juyu. Actually, it should be like Juyu or right or well, whatever. Give it 4 chili peppers. It seems fun. It seems synergistic, but it's just missing that final touch of spice that I expect from Purplemurasaki decks.
It's just like a control deck, and I don't like control decks.
Okay, yeah, that's valid too.
Yeah, like there's another kind of one of this list in the GP.
Yeah, I think Splashcat's playing that.
Yeah, I'm also on the same list as Splashcat. But this is just like a very solid deck. I mean, it has all the basic control functions, big walkers, interaction, quadra, and yeah.
Okay, moving on. DootBot. Hey, it's you, and you're running Foretell, which I haven't seen before.
Good. I've taken my classic strategy of choosing a mechanic I like and putting all the synergy in one deck.
So
yeah, go on.
Every spell in the main deck is from Crest the Verse Blade, which is
wait, what? So it's a block constructed deck.
Which I feel like is maybe inherently a bit sketchy, but
they all have Foretell.
That's true. And as far as decks go where you're doing that, I think this is probably the thing to do it with, because Foretell is like reasonably powerful. Like Sophia's a very strong card. Wisp of Fortunes is actually pretty aggressively costed. Though maybe it's sketchy. Lysine is very good. A lot of the Foretell interaction spells, like all your instants, are like reasonable. But at the same time, like maybe you don't want to go this all in on like anything.
I played against deck in League, and basically it has like 1,000 removal spells, but it doesn't really do a lot other than that.
What I'm really
And
hoping
also-
to do is drop down the Tyrant of Prophecies.
And also, it felt really land-light, which
Oh,
does
yeah,
better when you have
20
Yaren's card for you. So, like, I kind of lost game 2 because, well, instead of holding up my cards when my opponent had a Startled Yaren's card for you I knew about, I just kind of slammed them for no reason.
I don't
But
expect.
we only had like 4 lands, so like having 4 lands and Yaren's card for you, Portal is kind of not good, to be fair.
I only really put the third of my deck for lands rather than thinking about 24. I don't expect to win a whole ton, but I expect to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Dangerous Conspiracy seems kind of bad as well because like Zig just already draws a lot of cards.
Yeah, I think there's a big problem with the
Use
amount of
them with-
lands because like every con in your deck like is expensive. Like Sophia is really mana intensive, like Scene is super mana intensive, Sellsword is, Whisper isn't, but that's like the one exception. Like Swashbucklers gets you another card. To foretell you need to pay to.
Yeah.
So if you like miss a land drop ever, you just like can't play hand, it feels like.
Also, the mana base, it's not very good. It's not using any of the fetch lands.
I mean, it's using the Fire Shrine. I don't think you need
It's running
fetch
Floor
lands in
Crumbling
this deck
Necropolis.
because, like the deck has, Crumbling Necropolis I don't like, but the deck does have like 10 rainbow lands outside of that.
Yeah, but still, I feel like you should be running the fetch mana base.
I'll consider that for when I make this deck better later.
Yeah.
The mana base is like vaguely functional. But like I think being low on lands is probably more
Yes.
concerning than like actually getting your colors.
Yeah.
So I think like,
Also,
playing 4 tap
Feeling
lands, like,
ominous
whatever.
seeing all the other decks have 24 and 23 lands.
Yeah, 24 is pretty standard for mid-rangey kind of decks.
Ooh, Neon's in
Yeah.
chat.
Also, can we talk about Celestial Banishment? Because I think it's actually pretty good as a card, but no one plays it.
Well, Blessing of Cedar, that was a card I looked at. It's a 3 mana overhead, and
You just pull the card up, blessing up the tar. I get. I mean, isn't there like Parliament of something, Mystic Parliament, which also does that sort of thing? Oh.
Blessing of Cedar doubles the stuff, but a lot of stuff isn't quite as good doubled, like counter spells and removal. You don't quite need 2 of those.
Yeah.
Blessing of Cedar is much more persuasive in a copying deck, like from your opponent.
Also,
only having 18 things to copy is also kind of rough, but
I have a Manic River Fishers in my sideboard because it's a pet card of mine.
that's actually a card I think is legit good, but haven't found a deck for it.
Yeah.
But I think we can probably move on.
yes, we definitely can move
go
on
on.
because we're spending way too long on this one deck that isn't even that. 5 chili peppers, sure. You tried. I'll give it you 5 chili peppers.
Thank you.
Moving on, Dr. Batman's funny ramp pile.
So this is 5-color building stuff. Interesting choices are Sufu, how do you pronounce that? Kaior as the big drop. Also Tamio. New Tamio is kind of interesting here.
Yeah, because you can actually untap your mana dorks instead of untapping your lands.
Yeah, admittedly, the -2 feels kind of sketchy with only Pronouncer to get more card types. I guess is the -2 like good if you are just milling 3? It's not bad, right?
I don't think it's been good.
No, it's not good. I don't
Like-
think.
Well, like,
Yeah.
how much does that cost? Like mill 3, return a non-land and land. I guess it's a solid 2-mana spell, right?
I guess. Yeah, sure. But you can
Something
whip so easily.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm
That
also like
seems
fine. Really, I'm not sure about the ramp target in this deck because like Recall and Gleesha seem fine, but like within the Yague, it does look good in some matches, but pretty bad at others. And then Kiyaro, they're gonna recast.
Recall?
They're gonna.
Does this deck have Thunder
Well,
Roads?
that is if you recast Recall, you get no call less. And if you recast like a mana dark, I'm sure. Oh, I guess there's L. I forgot
No,
about
you can't
L.
transform L if you copy it with Kaioro, right?
Okay, that's okay. Cover seems
Yeah,
pretty.
I mean, Kaioro gets back building, and then it's augmented because it's Kaioro's a 5-drop.
Yeah, why are you not
Oh,
running
but
Thunder
that-
Roads with Kaioro?
Kaioro also hits your opponent's yard, and because it's anything with mana
Oh,
value 3 or
really?
less,
Oh, if your opponent's playing Thunder Roads, you get to augment Thunder Roads with Kaioro.
yeah, I think you can legitimately play Kaioro and just expect to hit your opponent's stuff, like hit your opponent's removal or whatever. I
can
don't
imagine
think that's
that.
even unreasonable.
They've got some alternate targets in the sideboard.
Bessie's Brood, not a bad Kaioro target. Charming Marauder.
Baraka no Oni. Wait, is this male hate?
Taraka no Oni.
This is not a good mill hate, just FYI. I'd not recommend. I mean, I guess maybe at Time Walk's mill, because they can't, like, mill you out.
I mean, if it's the last card in your deck, like, they can't exactly get rid of this thing, right?
Yeah, but then they draw it.
Oh. So you just have to discard it somehow.
It like almost gives you, like, kind of gives you an extra turn if you don't draw it naturally, but like...
Or, here's the idea. You tap 13 and play it.
I mean, that's actually pretty possible with how much mana they have.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention Sufu, however you pronounce it, is a kind of interesting card? Because even though, like, none of the 3 modes are, like, that good here, I think it's actually not unreasonable here, just because they're all, like, having all of them makes it kind of interesting. Because, like, the overrun mode does give this deck a lot of kill potential. And, like, the card draw is nice if you draw all mana dorks.
Yeah.
And the mana dork ability is fine. And then it's also not an unreasonable body.
Also, I appreciate the Doc Batman used the promo pronouncer preserves art. You know, just increasing the total ratio of the decks in the format or in the GP.
Shrine of the World Shepherd. I've never seen that card before.
I mean, it's a mana land. It gets there.
I guess.
That is one of the upsides of not playing Thunderwood is that you can play colorless lands a bit easier.
Yeah, and this thing can get pretty big. So, anyways, 4 Chili Peppers looks like a cool deck. And so moving on, we have Travels' All in Your Mind, which is the mill deck that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, that's mill deck.
Seems pretty straightforward in terms of all the mill cards it's running.
So I hope they like aren't just blindly net decking this and they like actually like mill or something. Because this deck is like very, very okay. Like I think it has some good matchups. But at the same time, it like I don't think there's a ton of reason to play this over like other decks. It's just kind of like okay in everything. Like there's some cool cards with Spilling Secrets being probably the best because Spilling Secrets plus Pariah is like really nuts card advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, still the kind of reason to play mill. I think kind of cool card.
Yeah. I mean, like if your opponent does just kind of sit there doing nothing and they have like all this life gain to like stave off aggro and whatnot, then you probably have okay chances. At the same time, anything aggressive, you do kind of die. Like you do have Unraveling and Collapse to like kind of stave off aggro, but like you just kind of don't kill fast enough even with like good draws. So I don't know, because you're looking like turn, like I think the fastest this that can like possibly kill is turn 4 with like a nuts draw. And like pretty often it becomes like turn 5 or later, which is really slow for like what's normally a combo deck.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you play against combo, you have 4 Seal the Tomb plus a bunch of mill spells, so can't go too wrong on those matchups.
I'll give it 5 Chili Peppers because it's a mill deck in the format. And yeah, I should probably check chat sometimes. Are you guys also checking chat? Ricky on. Okay, yeah, I should probably like speak a bit slower and give other people a chance to talk.
Yeah, Dr. Batman's mentioning in chat that Round the World Shepherd is just an untapped manland, and they want another manland in addition to Lumbering Hill.
Yeah, makes sense. So, anyways, we're moving on, right?
Yeah, so Epid's on elves with 0 changes, I think.
Elves in every creature. Every creature's an elf.
Yeah. So any comments about the deck?
Well, it's the same deck. I don't know how it plays. I guess it's just like pretty good.
I think it's supposed to combo off somehow.
Yeah, well, like this kind of elves does like a kind of mixed thing where it has like really huge creatures with Fall Dance Legion riders, which get like incredibly big incredibly quickly. In addition to like Modric's area, to like both fetch them out and buff them up. Then there's also like a combo plan with the Dreamsight Well and Lawleaf, as well as Autumnal Watch and Dazzling Dream Spinner to like allow you to like basically draw your entire deck and make this big silly like huge, very huge boards.
Yeah, it's basically like Legacy Elves where you tap stuff to make mana and then you Glimpse of Nature to draw cards.
So there's kind of this like mixed plan, but none of which like you can't really rely on either of them to win by themselves, but like the combination ends up being really consistent. It's occasionally a bit clunky and a bit slow. Like even though like it's 2 mana 5/5 is good, it doesn't actually kill that fast. Weirdly, but yeah, generally it's just pretty solid. I think in general.
Yeah, I'll give it 3 Chili Peppers because it's elves. Is that the highest rated deck so far? Okay, you also have Cyber on this guy GU. So any more comments or are we moving on?
This deck is elves.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I agree.
Also, like, one thing I don't like about it is that when you cast Druids at well, you have to shuffle a bunch of useless cards in your deck.
Useless?
Because otherwise, I mean,
I guess
they're
notably,
fine, but like they're not
like,
that good in an elf deck.
like I think notably with Dreamsight well, like you do make your deck less land heavy, which is important if you have a Dreamsight well in play because you want to drawing all these creatures.
That's fair.
And like you don't need to put in the book on a Immerse or anything. So you do become more creature dense, even if the creatures aren't the best.
Oh yeah, and become immersed absolutely wrecks burn.
So speaking of burn, we have Gyno Poet on burn.
This
Is that no cult of the season because of the nerf?
I mean, technically, like, people have ran Cult without self-enabling, right? Because, like, Neon has run mono red burn with Cult, and Cult usually gets turned on pretty consistently just by hitting your opponent.
But at the same time, it's definitely not as good if you're not taking for 3 on turn 1.
It's more fair.
Yeah, but definitely has a lot more competition with like Pagan Archer. I think taking this spot of Cult in this deck.
Actually, it's Advocate of the Hunt that takes apart Cult because it wants you to self-damage.
Yeah, depends on what part you're looking at. But this is Here With You Burn, which we've seen before.
Here with you with Advocate of the Hunt.
Yeah, I think Flying Banana played a similar deck once, and it clearly is just a legitimate scary card. Because if your opponent draws 4, well, your third opponent draws 4, and if you give them the tokens, you have Advocate of the Hunt, which is also pretty scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't have Advocate of the Hunt and your opponent has Sheltering Rage,
yeah, it's fire.
Like it can definitely go wrong because Punisher cards can always go wrong.
But as far as Punisher card goes, it's like one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely. Because it doesn't have that super specific answer. If you do have Advocate in play, it is really nasty, especially as an instant because you are doing it on their end step probably.
Dude, what's happening with your mic? Okay.
My mic?
No, dude, there was background noise, but okay, there's no more. Anyways, continue.
I think for the most part, this is just a pretty solid build list. I think people might have mentioned Advocate being a bit like inconsistent, but I'm not super familiar with it. So,
all right. Anyways, I'm giving it 2 chili peppers for burn because it's burn. I think that's gonna be my justification for basically every rating. It's because it's the deck that it is.
Your words have never been spoken.
Dude, I like your creativity in your rating. Anyways, moving on. Hersey. Wait, it's not Thunder Roads. Wait, does it have Thunder? No, it doesn't have Thunder Roads, but it has Road, apparently. Where's the Road? The Road to Awe. What's that supposed to be?
It doesn't have Road. So basically, it's like a ringmater deck that tries to get Lions. What is it called?
Liar's Dice.
Vanguard? Lions Vanguard.
Lions Vanguard.
Yeah, so you reanimate Clawing Shaman, which then kills itself and reanimates everything from a yard, which includes a Lion's Vanguard, which gives everything haste and trample +3/+3, and then you kill your opponent.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. You also have Bushwhacker in case you can't get Lion's Vanguard, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe this is like a living end kind of style deck almost, where you just bin everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, just in the graveyard, not just cycling.
So Liar's Dice is your cycler of choice.
No, I think this deck is pretty binary. You hope your opponent doesn't have Grave Hate. If they do, you cry. If they don't, you kill them.
Oh no, if you do, you'd have to beat them down with creatures.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Muck Bruiser isn't the worst fair plan, but Muck Bruiser is like the only other plan, so...
You have Bushwhackers.
I guess. I mean, you're bushwhacking like a 1-mana 1/1s, which, I mean, I gets so sometimes, I guess.
And, I mean, you have Liar's Dice, so you can cycle pretty hard to find what you... So, like, you get a hand with Bushwhacker plus a bunch of 1-drops, and then you try to do that. But, yeah. Also,
the sideboard seems really weird. I mean, I guess it's a fair plan, but having, like, having, like, Helene be the only interaction feels kind of weird.
I'm to C4.
Like, I would have expected, like, a Beneath the Zedino, or, like, Pith Wilt, or, like, some kind of way to interact with the opponent instead of more threats.
Hey, the best defense is a good offense. There's no wrong threats, only wrong answers. Whatever other thing that you can come up with to justify the lack of answers.
Let's go with that.
Anyways,
so yeah, this deck's pretty binary.
5 chili peppers.
What you rate it?
Spicy. 5 chili peppers. This is really interesting. Oh. So, dude's still looking for the right emoji to use, and meanwhile we'll move on to Hitster's Little Pig's Big Adventure, which only runs Little Pig as a creature, and then it's a control deck otherwise, with invoking the name. Wait, what's invoking the name getting?
Ooh, an
Observable epidemic.
Wait, what?
Whoa.
Is that...
Spicy. Wait, what? Wait, it's literally just for epidemic. Wow.
I think the reason why invoking is in the deck is Shanjin's command. She has 7 copies of epidemic.
I mean, like, Epidemic is really good, but that's a lot. That's some faith in Epidemic to like wreck people. And I guess that's fair because Epidemic does definitely wreck people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
Double epidemic kind of really hard to beat if you get that and include.
Do you run? I guess you don't run white. If you run white, you could just ran Disciple to fetch Epidemic, but right for this Disciple.
Yeah. I mean, not really, because decks already kind of want to play Shanjin's command.
Right, but that's black, so right.
I guess the other thing.
And Shanjin's command can fetch Little Pig, right?
Yes, it can cast Big Adventure. Yes.
Wait.
Yeah.
That's the cool interaction here.
Interesting.
Additionally, Tower of the Sky turn 3 on Little Pig casts Epidemic on turn 4, which is pretty nasty. I do think that if Epidemic doesn't like win, then you're kind of like you feel a bit screwed in general.
You have Little Pigs and
you have like
coalesce guys coming down.
Removal and 5/6s, 3/3s.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't found that the like Revelation plan of Little Pig like feels good enough. Maybe it is with like the backup like sinkholes and excellence and whatnots. But it does feel a bit light on win conditions if Epidemic doesn't go through. Additionally, if a Little Pig doesn't get its Big Adventure off, you feel kind of screwed as well.
You have Primal Resurgence, like your other 1-mana ramp, which is why you're running a bunch of Wait, how are you getting Primal Resurgence off with this mana base?
12 green fetches.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think this is just kind of solid Little Pig deck.
Yeah.
All right.
With Epidemic being the random win con choice.
5 Chili Peppers. This is the spiciest deck I've seen so far. That's coherent. And
moving on, we have Infinity Chef on Foxes again.
It's the same deck as usual.
And Fox is just kind of an aggro deck.
Yeah.
It aggroes.
Yeah.
And the card doesn't anything.
I mean, the best card in this deck is Chronicles of the Kitsune, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like tribal aggro goes, Puppet of Mega Bow is really good. Individual card Wizzerinus is also pretty solid. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So any more comments, or are we just gonna give this thing a standard rating and move on? Anyways, 2 Chili Peppers because Fox is it's too obvious. It just feels like you spam a bunch of Fox cards into the same deck and hope it works.
So moving on, we have Lyco Drake on.
Is there a word deck? I guess it's
Jund. Green red / Jund big power.
Jund Ferocious.
Jund for power.
Yeah, ferocity. It's power 4 or greater.
So you have Declan and Miang as 1-drops to get big with big creatures. You have
and the battle,
Fought Ansel Siege, Asphorn, Thunderhorn all get really big if the conditions match. Then you have some random big stuff at the top end with Alien Visitor, which is a 3-mana 5/5.
That makes it
interesting to note the main board. It's interesting to note the main board is nothing but lands and creatures.
Yeah, so you get to run Channeling Stone and Crowded Tavern. Wait, no, you get to run Channeling Stone, and then I guess Crowded Tavern is just a deck building thing. Right? Crowded Tavern works in this deck, right? Like it's built.
You don't really get 4 copies of backland. The card looks like just really bad. Mostly because first it's 0/1, it's a legend, and it just dies when I play as Alien Visitor.
Yeah, the only time I can see Crowded Tavern ever not triggering is with Warriors.
Miang is also just a human, so might not trigger there.
Oh, the way it's worded means that you can have 2 Warriors, but if the incoming, or let's just say the Scale Bruiser, it you can just say it doesn't share a type Lizard with the Chlorbound Chorister.
Yeah, the incoming creature needs 1 new type.
Another thing is that Astral Culprit Familiar doesn't really have anything to activate, because the last time Lyco played a deck with it was MSEM, which has 3 creature types, and having a creature with 3 creature types whose manager is kind of insane. But this one only has 1 copy of Charger, so Astral Horn kind of hard to enable.
I mean, have enough. I mean, you can easily enable it with 2 guys, or I mean, Astral Horn plus 2 guys.
And then your opponent plays a Violent Collapse in the cry.
Yeah, but close enough.
it doesn't mean Familiar doesn't have problems, but like the WOD is nice. Like
Yeah,
you do just need more copies of that for Dancer Leech. So
I can see that.
Also, looking at the sideboard, I'm surprised by Byron's Gambit and Relic Corrosion because they're not creatures. Like I'm pretty sure there's better creature options for these sort of effects.
I mean, you could play Charming Marauder.
Yeah, I mean it's not 1 mana, but like your things want to cast.
And Byron's Gambit could just become
immersed. Yeah, actually, becoming immersed would be pretty decent in this deck if you can cast it, because like half your lands don't cast non-creature spells, right?
Yeah, that's
it's only Challenge Stone and Tavern.
Okay.
Why am I playing Star Cops? Which card's like pretty bad.
I think Star Cops is for Blessing Marketplace and for Dancer Leech. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
I don't think it's that necessary, but it's okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Definitely not sort of the sideboard though. Could definitely see some improvements.
Anyways, can we just this thing for Chili Peppers because it's a Far Dancer Leech deck?
I could actually see this deck being pretty powerful if it may be a bit linear at times. Because you do have some, like all the creatures in the deck are like really threatening if they're not dealt with immediately. But if you do run out of gas, you do just kind of die. So
yeah. Anyways, let's move on because we're like taking a really long time for this now. Neon's Enchanties. Is this the deck that they ran last time? Did they add Witch's Invocation, or is that also there last time?
I think that was there last time.
Okay.
I think they added. I think Embodied Soul is new.
Okay, at least they have a win condition now.
Technology transfers also, I think, new.
More card draw, sure.
I think it's feasible for this deck to like actually win now, which is good. Because I think it still has some same problems with like you have a lot of cards like that do like one thing, and like if you don't land like some very specific cards, then you do just kind of die. But if your cards do line up well, like if Isolated has good targets, if Long Road North is like does stuff, then I think you do have some pretty real chances. Whereas I think the last version of the deck had a lot more creature removal, which wasn't always going to be good.
Well, I'm going to give this deck 3 Chili Peppers because like it doesn't seem fun to watch. So moving on, or does Wizzerinus have a comment, or I guess the other guy?
Yeah, I don't really have a comment.
Okay, moving on. We have Purplemurasaki's Prophecy Control.
This is just cool, except blue-white.
Reveal reality.
Reality.
Oh yeah, this card. So like this card combos really well with Minister of Badness, or at least pre-nerf Minister, but nobody ever.
It combos really well with but we don't really play Minister anymore because.
But like it was a really cool interaction, but it never came up because nobody ran Minister with this card ever when Minister was unnerved. Like for
no one ever ran Minister fairly.
Yeah, but like that's the main thing I remember.
The Minister deck did run a card, I believe.
I don't know if Reality Minister ever got played at all, actually.
It didn't, because like you ran Minister before Cyndarsvale got printed, and then you discovered the Revive Reality combo after Cyndarsvale got printed because you looked at Cyndarsvale, and then only after that did you realize that Minister also casts directly from exile.
I mean, I had the list built. I think I just never played it.
Yeah.
I also had the list built, but my list had Dreamtide in it, so it's not like a Reality mattered.
So here like Reality obviously works with Secret Prophecy and Offering Pool. Also the 3-mana counter is a bit less clunky here because you have Weeping Lotus and Ajani to make a ton of mana. I think I have.
Do you only have Seek and Offering Pool to reveal cards?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I mean, cancel like fine because you have like Ajani and Lotus.
Sure.
Like hard counters do have value. I did just want a hard counter. But I think in general this is the same kind of deal as the Jeskai variant. Using Amitai instead of Amulet, because I think Amitai locks down the game enough for you to win. I think if this deck doesn't work, it's because the Aiko Amitai Mary is like not good enough win conditions compared to Jeskai version. This deck isn't tested, by the way.
Good to know.
Otherwise, it's just kind of a basic blue-white control deck, same kind of idea as the Jeskai one.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same deck.
I'll give it 4 Chili Peppers then for being the same deck as the Offering Pools deck from before. And moving on, we have. Why am I always after you?
Because your name starts with R.
Okay, well, that's convenient because I'm running Oxfox because Purple couldn't find me a more broken linear deck in time. So yeah, after my blue-green ramp deck got completely nerfed out of the format, I still don't think Logger Recluse deserved to die, but that's unfortunate. Anyways, now I'm back with another deck that Purple wants a card nerfed from. So yeah, what card are you looking to get hit by, or gain? What card from this deck are you looking to get nerfed?
I don't know. I don't really have any targets like at all.
Okay, but
like,
what would you want to get
either.
nerfed if you could choose a card from here?
I don't know. I don't really have any problems with any of these cards. I think Woodgate probably has a target on it, but like I think Woodgate is probably a problem in like very long term potentially. But
I'm gonna have to peel off. It's been great commentating with you guys.
Thanks, DootBot. It's also great having you here. Oh, you're already gone. Okay, bye.
I guess train like the rail line. Yeah, I don't like rail lines. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
This deck's really good. The old Candlelocks list was like pretty solid. If like, it had its sketchy moments. And this is just a lot better. Chronicles of the Kitsune solves like a lot of problems the deck had with getting stuff at Woodgate to like actually make power.
Yeah.
Since Ascent is like just really efficient.
It makes your cows fly. You can start beeping them up in the air.
And it's also enchantment, so it triggers Woodgate. It makes a good body. So that's like one problem deck had. The other problem was that it didn't have good interaction, and that's always Zifeng who. So that's two major problems solved. It was already a pretty good deck. This deck I think is really strong.
Okay, I haven't played this deck yet, so I don't actually know anything about how this deck plays, but you said it's strong, so I'm going to take your word for it.
It's pretty strong. I'm not going to give it like a lot of chili peppers because I think it's pretty boring, but it's pretty good.
Well, I'm gonna have to give it 5 because I'll be recording every game that I play with it.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of bad at playing these sorts of aggro decks, so I don't think I'll be doing super well with it. Like, when I say I want a broken linear deck, like aggro requires too much thinking to be broken linear in that sort of way.
I mean, you say that, but you like play multiple GPs of Creature Vomit, so
the Creature Vomit is sort of different from standard aggro though, because it's more combo-y than standard aggro. Except it's not actually a true combo; it's more like
there's definitely parts of
it's rampy.
Oxfox.
Like it's a rampy aggro deck.
There's definitely parts of Oxfox that are reminiscent of Creature Vomit. You can definitely have draws where you go, this is insane. I'm killing, like, I have this ridiculous board state on turn 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like, I think as far as aggro goes, this is, like, not that hard to play. Just because so many of the cards are, like, you play them and you go into the red zone and you're just bigger than everything your opponent has.
Okay.
Obviously, there's some amount of, like, playing removal, obviously with, like, Chevalier's Lands and has some of that, or, like, Underpass. Like, do you drop Underpass? Do you drop Core Light? There's some of that, but for the most part, you can just red zone everything.
All right.
And be happy. Moving forward, we have Scribble on the same deck as Admiral Ivy, so...
Is it the exact same list?
Yeah. I mean, Mind Reap, I don't think the other one had Mind Reap. Oh, it did.
And then Splash Cat is on the same list as I am, because they were asking me about the Jeskai list 30 minutes before the GP, so I sent them this.
All right. Good. So let's move on. Test is on Humor Tempo, except now it doesn't have Bounty at the Gardens.
Sealant Goth? Okay, that's just a target. Let's see.
I mean, it's just a better ignition point, right?
It's just, it seems like a pretty standard Timber Temple list, except no bounty.
Yeah, how big of a deal is losing bounty?
Very big, because you can't end of turn bounty people out anymore. You can't do the Cane Dancer bounty, Cane Dancer bounty thing at end of turn and completely wreck people out of nowhere.
That was kind of the reason to play the deck, I think.
Yeah.
There's only on 2 Matia, which makes them like pretty darn threat light.
Like you're running card draw spells at this. Like you're running planets. I don't think this deck wants to run planets, right?
I think Hidster was playing planets in their league deck.
But was that a Timber Temple deck?
Yeah.
Oh.
And that was with bounty even.
Yeah, but like bounty lets you play planet. Now that you don't have bounty, like can you afford to play planet? Doesn't do enough, right?
I don't think there's much logical difference.
Right.
It's like you still like taking up to your Panya. I guess now the land draws are worse.
So like you're kind of just reliant on Veilborn Meddler a lot more now because only that thing grows. And I guess Matia
too.
Yeah.
But I think it's like fine. I don't think there's like any like you get more burn. I think the replacement is like what's being added?
Gust. Chilon Gust.
Well, that's replacing a ignition point, right?
Yeah, but like you don't run 4 ignition points. You're running 4 Chilon Gusts, and then I guess
it's just random things like Spell Pierce and Scatter and Maxing out on Frenzy, and like another with the Panion or not. I think they're like still good. Bounty does take away some of its like breakthrough potential. I think it's much harder for this deck to like beat through good board states now. Whereas Bounty, if you fell behind, you could just like play a couple bounties and catch up.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
so moving
Chili Peppers.
We have Firebelly Toad. How do you feel about Firebelly Toad?
Wait, Time Spiral's in the GP? They haven't played them forever, right? Even though they're the one organizing everything.
Burn with Sunrise Bluffs. Very cool.
With what?
Burn with Sunrise Bluffs.
Well, okay. Actually, the unique thing here is that it's running a lot of instants, and usually burn decks in the format can't afford to run lots of instants because all of the burn sorcery speed.
And because it's like creatures, but the deck has more creatures for some reason.
It's still running like all 4 spikes, except it's replacing all the creatures with like 2 mana instant speed burn, which is I don't think is a very good idea.
So Ricky, you could play like decent amount of burn, right?
That was like a year ago.
Yeah, but like, can you win without creatures? Can you win with only spikes?
I think the answer is no.
So is this just Civilization's cost of us kind of?
Well, no. The thing here is that your 2 mana burn. Actually, no, never mind. So Rogar's Frenzy, Raising Sacrilege. Like you use Spade and Sacrilege to double your Brimstone Oration, and now you're dealing 8 damage for 1 card, and then you do it again.
I guess Ovation plus Sunrise Bluff is pretty nasty.
It's 5 mana for 4 damage.
Yeah.
4 mana, which is halved.
Oh yeah, right.
Bluffs, so Bluffs is a soul land for it.
So I guess the plan here is you use Fire Belly Toad with Sunrise Bluffs to hold back your opponent's creatures, and then you burn them out in the meantime because some of your burn is pretty expensive and they flash back.
So why is this deck playing fetch lands?
Good question. To thin your deck, obviously.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that doesn't seem that great.
Yeah, I can like this deck. I think the Oration synergy is really nice with like Sunrise buffs.
Kind of really interesting to me. I'm gonna give it 4 chili peppers.
I'm gonna give it. I don't know whether to give it 1 or 5 because if it works, then I'm gonna give it 5. But if it doesn't work out, then I'm gonna give it 1. So I'm just gonna give it 3. I'll just give it the average.
Yeah, like I think this is a very novel innovation on like burn. I'm definitely not sold on 0 creatures. I think you definitely should have like at least 8. Like even like Rattler or something would help a lot. I feel like
Emissary maybe.
Yeah, Emissary too. I think Emissary makes like a fair bit of sense here even. Because that also works with like sacrilege.
I mean,
and helps you.
At that point, it just feels like Ninjaseer Red, except without the early game.
Well, you're all early game.
Or Ninjaseer Red, except without like the mid range. Wait, is it? Yeah.
But like, I think relying solely on burn to deal early damage is a bit optimistic, maybe. So maybe Civilization's cost is like good enough. But I think this is like really novel burn innovation, which is really cool.
Okay. So what are we calling the deck? Instant speed burn. Wonderful. Moving on, we have Wizzerinus. So. Oh, it's this deck.
Just appreciate how cool the deck is.
You're running Kurl's Downfall with Plot. That's interesting.
I mean, it's just like Fragment 3. It's fine.
Your Downfall is just like a fine card.
Yeah. So the real cool part about this deck is Rebecca's Rattler with Bloodship Prophet, which are both in the deck because they're really good cards, and because I only have 2 lands that do not tap for black, but I also have Cloud Expires. So I played that, and it seems like I can always cast at least one of those, and I can choose what I can cast. Unfortunately, even have to cast both. I'm kind of screwed, but like this mana base is just really crazy.
What if you're playing Decrepit Pits or Decrepit Crags just because you need more ways to fetch spires?
Yeah, like I mean it's one-off. I don't know if it's good or not, but I do not like spending 2 life to fetch a top land anyway. Also, a new addition to the deck is Little Deus Toxin, because I can play her and then I play 2-drop, turn 2, and turn 3 I play Plus, and Little Deus at X3 and I trigger Plus, which is kind of cool.
So why are you running one of each of the mid-range big threats? Or like mid-range...
Because Plot tutor, so if I trigger Plot twice, I can tutor whatever the best card is.
Oh yeah, it's Plot can tutor, right? I forgot about that part.
Is there any reason that you're building around plots, but you're only playing 3 plots?
Well, the problem with plots is that the 3-drop slot is kind of really stacked, because there is Rattler and then Prophet, and then after those you have Shikwa, which is a pretty strong card, and went after the nerf, and I just couldn't really afford the first plot. But yeah, I think I would have maybe played 4 if I wasn't relying on this crazy mana base.
Right.
I just kind of feel like you should be playing the 4 of the card that you're building around. So it makes sense.
Well, yeah, the other problem with plots is if the first mode is bad, then the card is just really not good.
All right.
But Beatrice's Dodger in Cyborg is kind of neat.
Yeah, the card is really cool, I think.
Okay, so while Wizzerinus takes its time to get back, I'm going to give this deck 3 chili peppers. So yeah, anything else, Wizzerinus, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. So
I'm kind of curious how this compares to like the list you've been running in the past with like Titan's Breath.
Oh yeah.
If you have any like opinions on like whether like Titan's Breath, like the loss of Titan's Breath, is significant, or if that's just because MSA is like playing more pools is bad because MSA is like double black.
Yeah, I didn't want to play Tyrant's Breath again because the deck really hard relies on MS3 Antiquity because you cannot run the cast a 6-mana spell otherwise. But it turned out that I really, after Island Rattler, didn't have a lot of MS3 heat. It just kind of was beating down the 3/3 flyer, which is not the worst, but it just didn't feel impactful enough.
All right.
And I also could not cast Rattler because the card is just really good.
It makes sense.
All right.
So moving on, we have
who's this guy? Are they new?
I think this is Captain Jenny. Yeah, they're new.
Okay. Well, Burn is not a bad deck to start.
And also Christy and Nolan are both like fine raffle players.
So is this just Funky Burn?
John Byrne? Yeah, this is John Byrne, yeah.
It's running Solar Flare and Chilon Gust.
Yeah, Chilon Gust and Spirit is stacked.
And then Curse of main.
I mean, we mentioned that like not much burn is instant speed, so Keylon Gust being instant speed is nice.
Yeah, but it's 2 mana, so I guess you
could
go bigger.
I don't know. Like you could play Roger's Frenzy.
Yeah. I guess there's also like why like is the hex important enough over like the 4 Solar Flare?
Yeah, I don't like Gust in the deck.
Well, it's easier on the mana, I guess. Does that matter?
No blue mana.
Okay.
MSI is kind of neat as like a one of because you are playing more expensive burn spells.
Main deck Tears of Bleeding is kind of scary against some decks.
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of famous decks with main deck life gain.
Including this deck. And yeah, that too.
So like I mean all the Ju decks are playing a Johnny. And Factory Seago shows up in the main deck sometimes. I mean I guess Profane MSA isn't super popular with this GP, but that's a bunch of life gain. So not crazy to play that main deck. Sideboard is a bit weird. Sacrificial Bull.
I guess against other aggro and graveyard decks. Wait, you don't have enough green mana to activate this thing, right?
You do.
No, you do. Yeah, because
only one land doesn't dapper. What the hell is this mana base? This guy's just going to die to aggro.
There's 0 basics. You die to.
Wait, hold on. Is this based on El Makino's adaptive stance deck?
Is that why it's running called Axlinger?
I feel like it is because
I don't think it's really bad.
Because like Devourer of Legacy and Sackable were both in the El Makino's list because of adaptive stance, and they also playing like no basics because they wanted to trigger Hail of Oblivion for adaptive stance.
But this guy's in the chat, so
okay, good.
So I feel like this might be based on El Makino's list because it's really weird to like have 0 basics in your mana base, but like also have Solar Flare. So like it feels weird that you don't just like play basics if you like all caring about the life gain on Solar Flare.
Yeah.
Well, it's like kind of a nice angle, but it just looks very untuned to me.
Yeah, I agree.
8 lands that you have to pay life to cast, and then to use, and then you have like Nebulas, and so basically, like, whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. At least it's not really a very good sign of a deck.
Also, with Colts being on the opponent, that's really awkward with Fork Pillar and Curse of Bleeding.
Oh yeah, right.
Which it seems not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also potentially awkward dissident because you have axing and dissident and your opponent plays an instant, it throws off your cults.
That too.
I mean, that's not like the worst thing with the deck.
Yeah, well, I think we're spending too much time on this deck. I'm going to give it 2 Chili Peppers because I don't think it works very well.
It's a good idea, but it's just very untuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Anyways, moving on to the last deck, right? Is it the last deck? Yeah, we don't have Zhang here. We have Mako on mono black, right?
It's a mono. Yeah, just mono black.
Old mono black.
With Chigao.
Yeah, this is like very old.
Yeah.
This.
Can you talk about how when Chigao got unbanned, it kind of did nothing the entire time? Like, this is the second time I see Chigao after the first month. The first time, actually.
Well, no, the difference here is that Profane Emissary is fetching demons.
Yeah, so Kaijao. No, it's just Kaijao.
Why does this deck not have Nemo Wine?
Actually, a good point.
There's a reason to play demons.
This deck doesn't have good sack targets for it.
I mean, you could just sack anything. Like, it's just good against some decks by itself.
Yeah, but the thing is that your anything is like Soul Breaker.
Like, Chigao's not really very important to have in some matchups.
Yeah, like it probably should have one at least somewhere. Like sideboard.
I'm not saying like play 4 because they're actually not great, but
I don't think it's actually ends up being that important. But honestly, even without VTB, it's probably fine.
Like, how does it compare to Performer Ambition?